Hello guys and welcome back to the Rosberg podcast. Today I am joined by Maximiliano Ulloa York. Max is a paraplegic Brazilian Jiu Jitsu competitor. He is also the founder of the International Jiu Jitsu Without Limitations Federation, and he runs the Para Jiu Jitsu magazine. Max has a really interesting and, in my opinion, very inspirational story. He had an accident 6 years ago, which left him with a spinal cord injury and left him paraplegic. He was trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu beforehand, and he continued to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu afterwards. And now he spends his time going around and basically promoting the idea that regardless of whatever limitation you have, you can kind of do whatever you want to do. You know, you can find a way to work around anything. It was really, really great getting the chat to him. I found it incredibly motivating and very inspirational. He has a great outlook on life, and yeah, definitely makes you think about the little things that you complain about. You might complain about them slightly less after listening to this, but I hope you guys enjoy listening. Check it out. So firstly, thanks for allowing me to come and sit down and have a chat with you.
No, I appreciate it.
Let's just get straight into it. What are you over here in the UK for?
So I came over here for the Abu Dhabi Grand Slam here in London. Basically, they added the Para Jiu Jitsu brackets this or last year and this year.
Okay, so this is the second year that they're doing it?
It's a part of the same tour.
Okay.
So it just ran into 2018.
Sure.
So we had the brackets, or we had the competition in LA, but I don't know how to say, I gave myself the full year to not compete in order to focus on my health.
Yeah.
So I stuck by my word and I didn't go to LA.
So this was the first competition that you did coming back after that?
Coming back after focusing on my body.
Sure. Basically. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more, but I kind of had no idea that the UAE Jiu-Jitsu Federation were doing this Paralympic side until para side until very recently.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool thing for them to get involved with, eh?
Yeah, it's a big leap. It's especially, para Jiu-Jitsu or adaptive Jiu-Jitsu has been pretty big across Brazil. They have over 100 athletes there.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty huge. 100 competing, so who knows how many are actually training.
Wow.
But jiu-jitsu there is like baseball, so for us. But in the U.S., it was virtually unheard of. I think we haven't done the research yet, but my friend Brian and I believe we were probably the first super fight that happened in the U.S. without televising it, without doing it. We just sort of went. I started jiu-jitsu in San Diego.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people, and Brian was visiting one day, and I took him to the University of Jiu-Jitsu to meet Shanji and Salo Ribeiro.
Yeah.
And when Salo met us that day, he basically said, okay, tomorrow you guys come back and you're going to do a super fight.
Wow.
And we're like, okay. So that was pretty much what happened. We came back and we had a no time limit, submission only competition matchup, and it turned out to be like a almost 12-minute match.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I got introduced to the bread cutter for the first time, and Shanji was waking me up.
Really?
Yeah. But what was cool about it is whoever won, Shanji was in my corner and Salo was in Brian's corner.
That's awesome.
So whoever lost the coach had to buy sushi for everyone. So either way, we both won. It was a great experience all around.
That's very cool. And it's very cool to see a big organization. Realistically, the UAE Jiu-Jitsu Federation is the second biggest federation in the world after IBJJF. Are the IBJJF doing anything for the Para Jiu-Jitsu?
I imagine they're going to, because I think it's getting bigger. The UAE really actually put it on the main stage. My point was what I was getting at was there wasn't a lot of people even knowing about it, I guess. So when the UAE last year came on the main stage, it really was put out. There was only one tournament in the U.S. called Grappler's Heart. Yeah. And that was shortly after Brian and we had our match. Not that it was related to the birth of it, but it was the only tournament, and it wasn't a tournament for regular able bodies. It was
just purely for para jiu-jitsu.
Persons with limitations, and it's been 3 years now. This will be the 4th year. I'm actually competing again next month at the end.
And how many athletes do they get going to that event?
The first year, I'd say about 6 or so.
Yeah.
But last year, we had a good turnout. I think I want to say around 15 or so.
Nice.
This year should be even bigger, especially since the UAE kind of like shaked up everything in the U.S.
So, the UAE are doing this great thing by starting to put it more on the map to people within the jiu-jitsu community. Do you think things like the UAE introducing a para tournament or a para division does anything for para jiu-jitsu outside of people who already train?
I think right now it gives those who are training a platform to do what they do.
Yeah. That's going to permeate
but
outside.
Then
right? Yeah.
I think the people that aren't training or don't even know what jiu-jitsu is, they're going to see us doing that. So I think it trickles down.
Yeah,
but
that makes
directly
sense.
to that public I don't think they would even be tuned into it.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense. Is when it's one thing a person with limitations seeing someone compete in a able-bodied tournament, they're going, that I don't really fancy that. But then watching someone like yourself go and compete in a para division,
right?
They're going to go, oh, actually, there's this sport is actually opening up to us. And
what a good point that I'm thinking of is it also gives the opportunity for those who train with the limitations, but they believe that they'll get hurt in an able-bodied tournament.
Is that a common mentality?
It depends on your limitation, I would say. I've never stopped walking ever since I hit the ground. I keep walking. I still uncovered the designs and techniques that are for fully able bodies. I never stopped thinking in that mentality because I had 3 years I had a blue belt when I fell.
Okay.
So I was 3 years into jiu-jitsu already. I already understood the basics.
Yeah. So
me changing that mentality was I just never thought of it as a limitation. I just said jiu-jitsu's universal. Actually, I ran a skill saw through my leg back when I was doing construction in Virginia, and I limped for about 5-6 years before starting jiu-jitsu, and 6 months into jiu-jitsu, I was running up mountains.
No way.
It already changed my life once. So when I hit the ground, it was a no-brainer that I was going to do it again.
So kind of let's move on to that, shall we? So you were actually training jiu-jitsu when you were fully abled.
Yeah.
And you were training for a couple of years beforehand. Mm-hmm. So what was it, if you don't mind talking about it, the accident that you had?
Yeah. I was basically it was Cinco de Mayo 2012. But I fell on May 6th at around 2 in the morning. We're drinking, having fun. I've always been a push it to the limit type person.
Yeah.
And, I've rock climbed without ropes. I've done parkour, and then jiu-jitsu, obviously.
Yeah.
So for me, it was kind of a feeling of it was overdue in a sense. But I was sitting in a lotus position up on the balcony, on the railing. But the railings in San Diego, they're like stucco ledges. It's not like sitting on a little railing. But I was sitting up there, and I've done it nights before, staring at Mexico and just kind of gathering my thoughts. And that night, we were just hanging out on the balcony, and I remember clearly, a girl saying, "Man, you really shouldn't be sitting up there." And it was probably seconds after she said that, everybody started moving at the same time. And it was me moving over the railing. But I remember just clearly thinking, man, how did they choreograph that together?
Yeah.
I remember thinking that. And then the next vision I had was a tree limb moving above my face. But what was really interesting is when I fell over and I landed on my butt, basically, from the second floor, I landed on my butt. So that impact on
Went
coming
through the
down
spine.
just went up and shattered the weakest part where it connects to my rib cage, I guess. But what was very cool about this situation, yeah,
Okay.
was when they looked over and they saw me, like the finishing part of the whole fall. They said I hit, and then I fell backwards, and what they said was I tried to catch myself, but what it turned out being was a break fall. Like before my back hit the ground, I slammed the ground.
Yeah.
So that just tells you that 3 years of jiu-jitsu, that muscle memory is in you when you're falling.
Yeah.
You just understand it. So I look at things realistically. It was the time that it took them to come around it was a townhome. So the time they took them to come around to where I was, I kind of just chuckled and made a realization like, whoa. Because I tried to get up and, well, let's backtrack. When I hit the ground after I did the break fall, I tried to get up. They were like, whoa, are you all right? And because you feel no pain. Once you break your back, it's no pain. You know, it's, when I tried to move, I couldn't. But I felt a little rib pain from a jiu-jitsu injury like a few months ago. So I said, oh, I broke a rib. Okay, I've been there before. And there's a way to get up from a broken rib off the mat or a bruised rib or whatever. But it wasn't happening. So I figured, oh, man, the tree limb was moving. Maybe I broke a branch. It's laying on top of me. I just got to move it. When I went to go and move this branch I thought was there, I felt my own genital area. And then I quickly, like I touched someone else.
Yeah.
Like I thought I touched someone else. Like it didn't make sense.
Sure.
But I snapped back like, oh, shit.
You didn't have the feedback.
Like, I'm sorry.
The sensation, of
and
touching.
then it instantly, and a few seconds went by and I was like, oh, that's me. And then I said, no, I can't feel my legs. So yeah, call the ambulance. And then by the time it took them to come down, I'm a kind of realistic person. I take everything as it comes and I go right through it. I chuckled and said, are you serious? Okay, we're on a new path now. And then they all came around the corner. And I've been hurt before with the skill saw. I've broken arms and stuff. So I know kind of you got to wait for the paramedics to come before you decide to relax or whatever. Yeah. So I sat there, they were talking to me, and I remember a girl was holding my head, a girl with what you guys, ginger hair.
You guys call redheads?
Yeah. She was holding my head, like saying, don't move, because who knows what the deal was.
Yeah. And
I remember saying to her, like, man, I'm never going to see you again. You might as well give me the kiss now. And I was just like, whatever. Like, life just went on. Instantly sober, obviously.
Yeah.
But then I said, let go. And I turned my head and just threw up. Yeah. And then I said, I guess that kiss is out of the way. But I remember from that, and then I remember seeing the what's it called that the paramedics bring?
Like a stretcher?
The stretcher. Yeah. I remember seeing it rolling down the sidewalk and seeing the footprints, the boots. I just remember seeing boots because it's San Diego. You don't wear boots.
Yeah, unless you're a paramedic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I remember, okay, they're going to ask me questions, and then once they're done, I can just whatever. And they said, so do you know where you are? And I said, yeah, I'm in Chula Vista, California. I just fell off that second balcony. My name is this, that. And then, is that it? And then I passed out. Wow. And then I woke up in the ambulance like, man, where are we going? Because it was a long ride. And they were taking me up north to a better hospital.
To a special spinal cord injury. Yeah. So they must have known straight away.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow.
So it was an interesting ordeal. But like I said,
was it surreal at the time? It doesn't seem like it was surreal to you at the time. It was like you seemed that you were very lucid about it.
Yeah. Well, I've been like that my whole life. And after this whole thing happened, you really get. I've always kind of been a loner or kind of quiet person where I get along with everyone, but I'm only in the crowd for a short period of time before I moved to another group, and I get bored, I guess, but not bored with people, just bored with the scene. To where I'm not there long enough where people would call me to go do something that type.
Yeah.
So I've always been that kind of loner guy, but after all these years and stuff, I did some backtracking in life, just realization. I kind of do that a lot. But I realized that it probably all stems from being that third child. And then there's a fourth one under me. So he's too young to play with, and the other two are too old to play with. So you kind of get a sense of, and then you only get hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
So you get a sense of just dealing with whatever comes your way. You know what I mean? So I guess for me, my entire life, I've been that way. So,
and I imagine that you've spoken to other people in either through the para scene or the para jiu jitsu scene, who have had similar incidents happen to them, accidents where where this has become a result. Have you found that your attitude is one that is shared with others, or because listening to you talk about it, it sounds very unique?
I think as time goes by, it becomes shared with others for them, but instantly like that, I found that I was unique, and that's why I started my whole Without Limitations movement, because or mission, because I was in the hospital in rehab for 2 months after the accident, and I was joking, I was laughing, I was just like it never happened. It was just like, okay, let's just figure this out. And then I noticed that everybody there was a bit depressed, a bit, like under the weather. Yeah. So it was
the people that were there for you, or
no
other people there?
Other people there. Majority were motorcycles.
Really? So you were in a ward with other spinal cord injuries?
Yeah. And like stroke victims and stuff, but mainly spinal cord, because they sent me to a special place. Yeah. But that's when I realized that people don't think like me. You know what I mean? That people just don't accept it and move on. Yeah. And that's when I realized I had to do something about it, because they don't really give you much. They're limited. They want to help a lot, but insurance limits them. Like, for example,
the doctors?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The rehab physical therapist. Yeah. I'll give you a good example. I didn't learn how to take a shower. I had to do that on my own after I got home. Insurance said it was a luxury, like that I can sponge bathe. So I never learned how to shower. I had to figure that out.
That's mind-blowing.
It is. It's
especially for people listening in the UK. Obviously, you know that there's a big difference between the UK and America health system and insurance. That if you don't have insurance, you're kind of shit out of luck.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into that.
Yeah. But wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a struggle in the beginning. I kind of went through I went through the worst in order to help more people. You know what I mean? Because after 2 months in the hospital, I went home. I learned how to use the bathroom, like do my bowel program the day I was leaving. Wow. I didn't even know how to do that. It was just a struggle. And then about 8 months later, I went to actually I had to go home by myself because I didn't have any family in San Diego. So from the beginning, it was like downhill all the way. But
and you still get the same attitude?
Oh, yeah. It was, to me, it's a challenge. Everything's a challenge for me. If it's a struggle, I think it's because of my older brothers, like hitting me, older brother, siblings picking on you, that you didn't show that you were being hurt. Yeah. You never gave them the satisfaction, is my mentality. So whatever came to me from this injury was the same.
You were never going to give it the satisfaction.
I'm not going to give the injury the satisfaction of me, like, showing that you got me. Because it was just like, whatever, come bring it on. But plus I'm a bit of a masochist, but not in a sex way. I always kind of enjoyed the pain a little, like, and it wasn't so much like enjoying the pain; it was enjoying
the struggle and the challenge.
The challenge of see how far before it breaks me, kind of. So, rock climbing. There was a there was some climbs that we did called masochist climb.
Really?
Where it was a crack climb where you had to shove your hands in and make fists, and those are your anchors. But when you're done with the climb, your hands are all bloody.
So you just like that?
Yeah, and you would like lift your whole body off of that, but it would move in the rock until it gets stuck. But then you open your fist and you go for the next one. So you get to the end, you tape it, but at the end it's all bloody anyway. So it's kind of like you only do that if you're a weirdo like me, I guess. But the recovery at home by myself, 2 months. My brother Thomas, I owe him everything in life. He said, I'll pack everything and move to San Diego, but I have to finish this job first. And it takes 2 months. He was on a huge deck job. So 2 months in my apartment by myself, and I could barely move. It was rough. It actually went down. I got out of the hospital with more movement than I did after those 2 months.
Really?
And
I guess if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Well,
you were doing rehab in hospital.
I couldn't go, I don't know, I couldn't go 100 feet by myself on the sidewalk. I was just brittle. Wow. And I would have to get up, cook some noodles, and then go lay down. I was just exhausted from that, and then get up and eat it like an hour later.
Wow.
And then get up an hour later to wash everything. Was cool. The maintenance guy was bringing me food, like everything, taking my car trash out. So I was gradually getting into a way of life, but on your own without any help, you kind of just...
Even without any knowledge, right?
Yeah, exactly. They give you a big, thick book, but when you're in that state, especially with all the painkillers
you're out of it.
I left the hospital having to take 14 pills.
Wow.
I take 3 now. All those were like, they were just, I think, just a sell to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Make money off of me. Because I didn't need any of them. Mm-hmm. But it was going through that struggle that for me was kind of like, I wrote everything down. My very good friend Vicky, about 7 days in, came to the hospital to visit me with a whole stack of composition notebooks, I mean,
yeah,
and pencils, and said, write it all down. And I've been writing it down ever since then. And the purpose then was to kind of know what I went through, but what had ended up happening is when I meet someone now, and let's say they're 3 months in, I go back to my 3 months.
Where were you at 3 months?
And I know where they are, like, because you forget those things.
You can almost step back into
that.
Into when
it's kind of
time travel.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I don't remember writing that stuff. So sometimes it's like an eye opener to myself.
Yeah.
So when I go in there and I explain to them, I know where you are, this, that, their eyes open up. Because
and you can say, and by 4 months, this is what I was doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't worry, in 3 months, you're going to feel like this if you keep up on this, blah, blah, blah. And I remember one guy, I went, because I made it a point to go back in there and meet people. And
the hospital that you...
Exactly.
How long afterwards?
Oh, I'd say about the 8-month mark was when I was strong enough to go and do things like that. Because just getting even there...
That's quite soon after. Relatively.
Yeah. It's when I went back to the mats too. When I realized insurance was failing me, I had to go back to the mats for rehab.
The mats.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, 8 months. You were big into jiu-jitsu when you had the accident.
Yeah, I was 3 years into it, and you're
obsessed
hooked.
as we all are.
You're hooked by then. That's your lifestyle.
So obviously. What was your first thought in relation to jiu-jitsu after your accident?
It's funny you ask. That was like 3 days in, like, I haven't even had my surgery yet. And I remember thinking, ooh, my legs don't work now. I can just throw them into a triangle. I remember thinking, like, somehow I'm going to be able to grab my leg and swing it over there like a towel.
Yeah.
Over their shoulder.
Lasso him with it.
Yeah. And then just be able to use it that way. But, I didn't think about there's still bones in there. There's still ligaments and stuff. I was very flexible because I played spider guard.
Yeah.
I learned spider guard from Penny. So I was very flexible before, and I was still flexible after, but obviously I didn't know it at the time. But I couldn't even sit up when I was thinking that, I couldn't even sit up in the bed yet. Like, it was so, I can't believe how much your body takes over when something happens. It literally said, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm a jiu-jitsu body. I'm a strong person. When I hit the ground, my body said, nope, we need all this energy. I couldn't even lift myself off the bed.
Yeah.
Like, your arms become super weak because your body says, I need everything.
Yeah, it's redirecting all of your energy.
And it was so strange because, so the first thought I had was that, like, oh, I can just kind of like do my legs are going to be like ropes, basically.
There was
like
never a thought of, I can't do jiu-jitsu now.
No. Yeah, I think because of that, because of running the recovery it did for me from my leg, and plus the understanding.
So the recovery that it helped for when you had the old injury from the saw.
Yeah.
You knew that the jiu-jitsu had helped you recover from that.
Right. And it was stuck in my brain that it's going to do it again.
That again must be a very unique feeling that for people to have after that sort of injury. It must be so easy for people to think that everything that they did before the injury cannot be done afterwards. Right.
But for me, it was again like a challenge. So it was like, okay, for jiu-jitsu, there is no matter what. Even if it just becomes an exercise for me, I'm still going to be on those mats.
Yeah.
And I had no clue how it was going to work out. I had these thoughts in my brain of, oh, okay, I can do that. I can still be able to choke. But oddly, obviously, because I have no experience in jiu-jitsu in my situation now, at the time, you think of everything in a traditional way. So how are you going to recover guard? Oh, I can't use my legs. I don't have a guard. But everything's based off of that. How am I going to escape from this or from this situation and that? And it wasn't until I got back on the mats.
You got to experiment, right?
Yeah, where it was just a shit ton of, sorry. It was just...
You can swear as much as you like, man, it's fine.
It was just so many days of tapping. Like, it got to a point where I was like, whoa, man, this might be just like physical therapy for me.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought I could be... how do I say?
Competent again.
Yeah, or effective. I never thought I could be effective because, remember, I never stopped walking. So my idea was, Para Jiu Jitsu didn't exist back then. There was one person doing Jiu Jitsu. He had spinal bifida, named Tyler Bray, and he's up north in California. And it was the only person I could find on Google or YouTube, and so you have no reference. And then when you do find someone, oh, he's in a wheelchair too, great. But he has so much more movement than I did. So it was like I couldn't even compare like what he's doing into my new world. I couldn't even use him as an example because I couldn't do any of the stuff he could do. So it was really just trial and error, tap, 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 tap.
You had to relearn it.
It was, blue belt in a white belt's body. It was a strange feeling, but everybody supports you. Everyone's there. You know, you're always constantly have in the back of your mind, are they taking it light on me? Are they taking it light on me? And what happened is, after a while, it was really cool because after a while, you've been in so many different scenarios, situations, plus the knowledge I have of basic jiu-jitsu, I know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
It all just slowed down. After a while, I felt, and it wasn't my mind slowing everything down. It was just the muscle memory. I felt when you hook my arm, I know you're going for armbar. Yeah. So how do I stop it? You know, in the beginning, I used to focus on protecting the armbar or like defending the arm bars until you abort. But when everything slowed down, I started realizing that there were steps to every technique. Just how we were taught, do this, do that, pinch your knees. You know, there's steps. Yeah. Or there's elements to each. There's like 5 elements that make the arm bar work. So if I take one of those elements away, it'll still be uncomfortable, but you cannot finish it. I can hang in there until you get out. So, for example, if you need to pinch your knees, if I can just push one leg away, grab my lapel and push one leg away, you're just yanking on I have a better grip than you, obviously, because I was a rock climber and the wheelchair, you know what I mean? So that grip would save me a lot. But I started learning I don't know the details of every minute movement that someone makes, because everyone makes the same exact movement. When you pass the guard, your knee drops on the same spot every time. So I started realizing that. Now I feed the lapel under the leg and I get the leg out of the way so I control you. And so you end up developing your own techniques just like everyone else. But what I like to say is that I'm not creating anything. These aren't my techniques, because jiu-jitsu exists whether I found it or not. If you found it, you know what I mean? It's just, I just get the privilege to be in the worst situations long enough, because you obviously before we're just used to escaping.
You know what? I think that you need to give yourself a little bit more credit, because you can't be, you've got no one there to teach you your style of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It just can't. Without the use of your legs, you're doing jiu-jitsu, but you're doing a branch of jiu-jitsu.
Right. Sure.
Imagine if an alien came down to one of the classes at your academy and he had 4 arms.
Right.
It's going to be different.
Sure.
In a way.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
He's going to be able to use some of the principles of someone else teaching jiu-jitsu, how the standard jiu-jitsu is taught. Well, but he's going to have to adapt things, and that's right. What you had to do. So when you're finding ways of doing stuff, that you're having to find them out from yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But if you think about it, we're all adapting jiu-jitsu. Whether you're skinny or big, you're tall or small, short, we all adapted in some way. But what you're saying is a good point, but it would not have been possible without understanding the basics, without knowing what you're going to do to me.
Yeah.
And feeling it. There's a difference between knowing what they're going to do and actually I felt it.
Absolutely.
Like I know, when you know what I mean, when you hook that arm and you're kind of playing over here, but you have that arm. I know you're going for arm bar. It's just a matter of a second. You're either going to go for the arm bar or take my back, and then or go back and forth. So yeah, what you're saying is true. It is a sense of my mentality or my mindset that's able to uncover those things. Yeah. But as far as them existing, they exist before me. I can't claim to them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a humble way of looking at it, but it's the same like gravity existed before Isaac Newton came up with the theory and stuff like that. Just because it's out there doesn't mean that someone can be the first person to pioneer that or to be the first one. I teach a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I don't personally I never say that I invented something.
Sure.
Because it's almost impossible to say that you've invented something, because it's such an organic sport. I say that I came up with it. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm the only person in the world doing it. It just means that I haven't been shown it by someone else. It means that I've kind of made it from myself. Yeah. But for you, I think it's different, because there are so many fewer people. That the fact that every technique in jiu-jitsu has been done by someone in a gym somewhere, even if they don't know it. Yeah. For someone in your situation where you're a very, very small demographic, and getting larger, but still a small demographic, and very early in the overall history of jiu-jitsu, we haven't been around for that long, and para jiu-jitsu for even less time. Yeah. So I think some of the stuff that you're doing now and that you'll be continuing to do as you move through the belts are actually going to be setting some of the, because right now I imagine that when you came back and you started trying to learn, you were doing 2 things. One was you were adapting stuff that you already knew, and then your instructors were having to show you stuff, but they were having to adapt what they were showing you. Exactly. And that must be very hard for them in a way, because they need to deconstruct their own jiu-jitsu and try to work out what would and wouldn't work without the ability to use the legs. Yeah. But as you move forward and go through the belts and one day become a black belt, and you're going to be one of the... Are you the highest grade in para jiu-jitsu grade out there? Or
no, they're like Tyler's a brown belt, and then there's some black belts in the U.S., but they have different limitations. Sure. But as far as a spinal cord injury, Tyler, I would say, is the highest brown belt.
But like you guys as a group right now, the high grades of Para Jiu Jitsu right now in the world are going to be pioneering the Para Jiu Jitsu techniques of the future, right?
Exactly. We're definitely, especially as it grows, the small community grows.
Yeah.
I would say that it's a strange feeling. Brian and I my good friend Brian Freeman and I had a conversation about that. It feels strange to be in the pioneers of at least in the U.S.
Because you haven't tried to do that. It's just out of situation.
Yeah, because we're just training. It's just jiu-jitsu to us until the whole Para Jiu-Jitsu label was slapped onto it. It was just jiu-jitsu. You know, Brian Freeman, he contacted me on Facebook about. Actually, I started traveling because the insurance, I was having to pay $800 a month. Wow. On insurance, and my disability check was only $13. So and then I was starting to lose all my savings. So it became too much to live in San Diego.
Yeah.
So rather than being that homeless guy around town in a wheelchair on top of it, living in his car, I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, even though I can just deal with it. So I went on the road, and I lived on the road for 2 years, basically, in my car.
Around America?
Yeah, and I figured I'd make it a road trip. Because I have a pocket full of money because I'm not having to pay rent.
Yeah.
So I'm able to, because what happens is in the U.S., you can't get Medicare, free insurance from the government until you've been in your situation for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough. So
Damn.
The first 2 years I had to just suck it up.
That's crazy. Cause
how you say, get on with it?
You get on with it, yeah. So the first 2 years is when you need it most.
I know.
Right?
Because if you think about it,
a couple of years down the line, you can start to work it out. And you can start to get on with your life.
You already have an understanding of your body. And plus, I never could understand was the first 2 years is the critical moment, especially the first year, that you can get stuff back.
Yes.
If you're working out and you're doing it, like if you're doing physical therapy and you're doing it really hardcore, you may have the opportunity to get things back into your.
Really?
It could be your bowel and bladder. You could, there's people that got stuff back from just training those first 2 years.
Yeah.
But after that,
the longer you go, the less chance you have of that happening.
So you would think that they would want you to.
That's going to pay off for them in the future.
Right, exactly. But they look at it, unfortunately, all the people that scam and take advantage. So I understand why it's done. I don't agree with it because the doctors, obviously, they labeled me as complete. When they label you as complete, that's it. You're not coming back. So I think it was, but again, doctors can be scamming too.
Yeah.
You could pay a doctor maybe to give you a complete diagnosis.
Sure.
So I understand the purpose.
But they've come up with a system to stop fraud, which is also going to help the people who aren't trying the fraud. They're genuine cases as well. Which is
exactly. And to me, it was. But again, like we talked about earlier, for me, it was just like, oh, it's not possible. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to even think about it in a negative way. I just move on. Or just roll with it, I should say.
Yeah.
So I started a company called Grappling Graphics, and Without Limitations. Back in those days, it started off as Rolling the Walk, but I changed it into Without Limitations later on. But what I was doing was I was traveling. I needed a place to shower. I needed a place to train on top of it. So I would travel and I would do interviews. Go to different academies, ask the instructor, just show up, ask, can you show me a technique that would work for my situation?
Wow.
It was kind of, I didn't want to feel like a creonchi kind of, but it was the only thing I could do because I was forced to go on the road and be homeless. And Leticia was totally supportive. It was never that feeling. It was never that issue, but it felt that way to me.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? So for me, it was kind of like using what I'm doing for a way to get on mat time because that was my only physical therapy. And being crammed in a car for days. I mean, I would spend days in the car because I couldn't move. Or, Driving, it would take me to drive a 7-hour drive would take me a day to get there because I'd have to keep stopping. But it was rough. It was tough, but you just go through it. You just get on with it. And life, my idea in life is time will bring you everything. And if you're doing the right thing, you can't go wrong. So
kind of that must be, obviously I can tell by everything that you're doing and even the stuff that you spoke to kind of even very early on after your injury, when obviously there was no sort of victimization that you felt ever, which must be like, whether you think so or not, that's crazy. Everyone must, or you'd think that almost everyone in that situation would feel like, why has this happened to me?
Well, I did have a 5-minute session of that.
That's 5 minutes ain't very long though.
No, it's not. But what happened in those 5 minutes will echo through my entire life. Yeah. I was laying in the bed. I was about 7 days after. About 8 days, because they transferred me already to the rehab center. I was laying there, and I hadn't watched TV since 2007, so the TV's off. I don't have nothing to stimulate me. And I remember looking down at my legs, like I took the covers off. My legs look normal. They haven't atrophied yet. They're just normal, strong legs. And I remember thinking to myself and saying to myself, man, what have you done? Like, what'd you do to yourself? And within that moment, I hear someone yelling for the nurse in the room. It's a big room, but there's not closed doors. They're just around the corner. So I can hear him clearly. And he's yelling for the nurse, and I stopped my whole woe is me situation to call the nurse. Hey, there's a guy here. He really needs the nurse. He's yelling for you. Okay, I'll be right there. And then I went back to my thoughts. Right before a tear started falling, man, I really am in trouble here. I really did something serious. Right before a tear fell down out of my eye, the nurse came in, and I'll never forget him saying, my nose itches. And when I heard that, I instantly realized that, you serious? You're about to cry over this? This guy can't even scratch his nose. He had a brand new baby too.
Wow.
And from then I can never look at my situation in a bad way, because it truly is. It could be worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, I hope that guy is doing well. I never got to talk to him because he had to go back to the hospital for something.
Yeah. But what like a lesson to people who think that they've got it bad?
Yeah. It was perfect timing, and it was weird because it was perfect timing in the moment that I was in.
That lesson that needed to come to you exactly at that time.
So about 5 minutes of depression.
Wow. But
but don't get me wrong. I get my days. I curse a lot too.
Yeah.
Not anymore. But in those early days, I would curse a lot. As far as fuck me. I left my phone on the counter. You have to calculate your whole life.
Sure.
In the early days, that's how I had to learn how to calculate things. You're I'm about to transfer to bed. Okay, do I have my phone? Do I have my charger? Do I have this? Do I have that? Do I have water for my pills? Because getting out of bed in those days to go get water, it was brutal. It was just a mission just to get to the kitchen and back.
Yeah. But the reason why I mentioned it, kind of the outlet that you have, but not only that you don't really seem to be that affected by it. Obviously you have every right to be, and you should be, and to a degree, but you don't seem as much as you would expect it.
Right.
But you kind of instantly felt like you wanted to help other people.
Yeah.
In the same situation. You said that within 8 months you were going back to the hospital to talk to other people who were there, and you've started up all of the things that we're going to continue to talk about to help. There must be so many people who had someone else go through the exact same thing as you, and instead of thinking I'm going to help other people, they're going to think I'm going to help myself. What is it that made you think, you know what, I'm good, I'm going to help other people be good as well?
I think it's because I understand that I can handle a lot. I can endure a lot of pain. I can endure a lot of struggle. That's just me, I guess. So having a realization that I can endure what I'm going through, and that there are people that can't.
I'm going to bear the hand of that as well as you.
That's trouble for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the feeling I got, you know, that it's like I can handle this. No matter what comes to me, I can handle this because I'm going to, because it's not going to break me. So, and then being in the rehab center and seeing how depressed everyone was, that was an eye opener. Like, man, I want you guys to be as happy as I am. And you can't convince someone that, don't worry, life will bring you happiness.
Yeah.
You know, you can't convince that. I had 3 years of shit. I had a divorce the first year. And then as soon as I got over that, I'm a romantic, so it took me a while to get over that. Once I got over my divorce, my dad got cancer, and I spent the 11 months with my father until he passed away. And then the following year after that, I fell into the chair. Wow. So it was just like, I remember thinking like, really? What else is going to... And then I said, no, I don't want anything else. I remember thinking like, God, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is just straight 3 years of just tough road.
Yeah.
But I like to say now that if you don't feel worse than the worst situation in your life, then you can get through it. If you going through something that's brand new, remember you got through something that you thought was worse than this in the past.
Yeah.
So as long as you keep a mindset of you can get through things, especially if you've already been through something that was harder than that, it's a piece of cake. But I realize that people can't.
It's hard for some people to rationalize it like that.
You know, even like you're saying, people were like they give you well, your injury's different than mine. You know what I mean? Like Tyler. I was looking at Tyler. I remember thinking like, well, his injury is way different than mine. He's got way more mobility. And that's what people don't realize. Like, you think it's just the legs. I don't have abs or lower back. So everything that I have is from my sternum up. So if I don't have my elbow or something anchored at all times, I fall over.
Wow.
You know, and that goes for jiu-jitsu too. I have to play off my elbows. Like I play with elbows have to be anchored or one arm's anchored. I can't just come up. I have to like push off the ground to get up.
You know, like with me having like a bit of an understanding of anatomy and stuff like that, like the idea that you can't use your lower back or your abs is almost incomprehensible. Like you can imagine not using your leg,
right?
But not being able to move your torso.
Yeah.
That's
and that leads up to why I'm stuck in the worst positions. That's where my jiu-jitsu, like if you take my back, I'm at home.
Really?
Like that's where I want you to be, is on my back.
And the side control,
on side control, on mount. Like I want you in those positions.
Yeah.
I have a whole top game, like a whole top side control. Because I had that before my accident. I understood the whole top.
It was the being able to attack underneath mount that you never would have.
It's like I can't get to the top because you're always smashing me. Until I figured out leverage and ways to get you, and now I can sweep people with that third of my body. I can still sweep people and then play my top game. And then that goes for another thing. Like my friend Pete McGregor, he's a Canadian. He had an injury early on in his life, and so his legs haven't developed as much, or his shorter legs, but my legs, I found out after training with him a good time, like at the summit we'll talk about, you realize that he can do more rolls and flips over people. He can train with you and kind of go over you.
Yeah.
Whereas I can't, because my legs are an anchor. Like they're big enough and still heavy enough to where they anchor me.
Sure.
So then I use that as a advantage. And plus, when you try to move my legs, there's no tone. So my legs just move like just like a regular object.
Yeah.
So you think about a sweep has to do with the person's tone of their body, because
they
it's
need
all
the tension there
yeah.
to actually move up into the rest of the body.
Because the sweep that I would use on you I try to use on you.
Yeah.
To sweep you, I tried to do on Brian in the first time we competed, and his legs just kind of accordioned on me. And I'm like, I have no leverage here. So that was an eye opener on how the body works with, because you don't feel your own what's happening. So it was kind of and think we're getting a bit off.
No, it's fine. It's fascinating to I spent a long time. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time, and and I'm always thinking about it. But to start thinking about it from another perspective like that, kind of is making a lot of cogs in my brain turn as well. Trying to think like, oh, how would? Yeah, you're right. That wouldn't have the connection. You would be able to, wouldn't be able to do that. So,
and that leads back to what my whole video, when I would go and can you show me a technique? I would record it. Yeah. When I hit the ground, I don't know if you've seen the commercials in the U.S., the Aflac commercials with the duck. No. Basically, it's an insurance for in case you get hurt.
Okay.
So I had that. I had that like 3 months before my accident.
Nah.
And they ended up paying out $16,000. So,
which I imagine doesn't go particularly long when you know.
It doesn't go. I mean, I burned through it, but I had the thought back then to buy my computer, to buy a camera, to buy the things that I needed to start
with that initial payout.
Yeah, to record and stuff. So even though I was like, man, I'm going to need this for my situation, but in the long run,
you were investing in the future.
I would rather struggle a bit more and invest in the future. And so I used all that, I had a Rode mic, everything. And I would go and I record these techniques that people are showing me. And the purpose was to show other persons in my situation techniques that they can do. But really, if they don't know about jiu-jitsu, they're not really going to know what it's about. So it was mainly for instructors in case someone comes into an academy with a limitation.
Didn't even think about that.
That they could say, oh, cool. Oh, I see. Just like you're saying, it gives you a different view of jiu-jitsu.
Because it must be, for people, anyone who teaches jiu-jitsu who's listening to this, they're going to think naturally, wow, what would I do? What would be the first thing that I'd show someone who was a paraplegic and came into my academy and wanted to look, the first thing I usually show someone is a sweep from God. Well, I wouldn't show them a sweep from God. And I think that a lot of people who'd be listening would go, you know what, I actually don't know what I'd show them first.
Yeah. And if you're listening and someone does come in your academy with a limitation, it's an assessment of their body. Yeah. Would be ideal. You can't go wrong with showing grips and chokes because ideally that's going to end up being the bread and butter.
Yeah.
But it's really just understanding, because it's hard for you to simulate my body. Of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even just down to the tone, like you were saying. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you just get an idea that, unfortunately, it's even coming from a walking on the mats, it sounds, even for me to say, it sounds wrong. You have to kind of throw tradition out the window.
Sure.
There's the basics, there's leverage, there's a concept of jiu-jitsu.
But the techniques
and moves that you show, you can't show them because they won't work.
Yeah.
Or they're not possible. So you have to really think from a different point of view, but using the concepts of jiu-jitsu.
The physics doesn't change, but the biology does, I guess.
Yeah. And basically put yourself in those situations. If you hurt your leg, don't take time off the mats. Go in there and sit on your butt and tap out for the rest. Just say, don't roll crazy. Don't roll me over. Just keep me on my back and tap for 3 months till your leg heals. And you're going to come back stronger because you're going to see a whole different light. Because I did. And I only can say that because I came from the walk-in side. I call you guys walkers now. But.
Oh, really? So, and we'll get onto it more about kind of promoting the Jiu-Jitsu Without Limitation stuff. But obviously there's two different routes that a para jiu-jitsu person can have come from, and that's they did jiu-jitsu beforehand, and then they didn't do jiu-jitsu beforehand.
Right.
So obviously you came from the former of those two, which is you had some understanding of jiu-jitsu before you stepped on the mat. It was about adapting what you knew to what you could do.
Yeah.
What would the difference be? And this is hypothetical. Well, this is from experience that you've spoken to other people now, and you have to imagine hypothetically. But if you hadn't done jiu-jitsu before and that you came in to jiu-jitsu with the limitations that you have now, what do you think the journey would have been different?
I think the first hurdle was actually realizing that you can do it, jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
That's the first hurdle. People look at some limitations and they're like, nah, they can't do it.
Because they watch
because they
able-bodied person do it.
Or they compare it to themselves.
Yeah.
Like, so the first hurdle is get over it. You can do it. Jiu-jitsu has so many benefits that you can use. Even if you can't be a competitive person.
Yeah.
Like, I was a competitive person before. So naturally, I did my first tournament about, I think, a year and a half after
the accident.
Yeah. It was
because you must have thought when you got back in the training that there was no competitions in your future, or did you think that you would be competing again?
Well, that's the thing is I was a competitive person in the beginning, so the idea of competing was always there. It wasn't until later when Master Helion told me that if I keep chasing the competition, I'm going to quit, and we can get back into that later.
We will.
But I'd say the first hurdle would be to realize that you are able to do this. When you think martial arts, you can't do that. Or you can't do it as effectively as everyone else.
Yeah.
But the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that it's just leverage, and it's
about finding a way.
Yeah, you just. I mean, even able bodies, you have to find a way. You can't sink in a triangle on a heavy shoulder guy because your legs are small. You're gonna find a way, whether it's just that using a triangle as a position instead of a submission, to an armbar. So you find your avenues, and the same goes for any limitations.
Yeah.
I work with and get to share the mats with a lot of different people with different limitations, amputees and so on, different spinal cord injury. And we all have our own
take on it.
But also we all have a bag of tricks.
Sure.
And that's what I think that training para jiu-jitsu or adaptive jiu-jitsu with adaptive athletes is extremely harder than going up against an able body. Yeah. Able body to me is easier because I know their movements and it's
there's so many of that. They all kind of do the same thing.
It's repetitious. Yeah, exactly. Because they all have the same idea: escape or get to a better position. Or if you're in a better position, you're on mount. What are you going to do?
Yeah,
you're going for a choke.
Yeah,
unless you're a no-gi, you're getting off mount.
Yeah,
but you know what you're going to do, and after a while, you kind of see the patterns. But in para jiu-jitsu, we all have, like my other good friend Rafa, he has cerebral palsy, and he likes to say we all have a superpower.
Yeah,
our unique X-Men like superpower, and it's true. We all have our. Brian has more movement than me, so he has more game. I'm stuck on my back, so my game's always on my back or on the side.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I got off I lose it sometimes. So I would say
we'll talk about your superpowers.
Yeah. So I guess mine, they like to say that I'm very good with lapels and chokes and
you must be
and stuff. I like to the lapels are my legs basically.
Yeah.
So. And then my idea is I just wait. I can't do anything. I can't escape. I can't get to a better position most of the time. So my game is to frustrate you to abort, and then I catch you in the middle, basically.
Sure.
And because I know where you're going to go. When you're abort, I know where you're going to go.
You're going to be there waiting.
Exactly.
Nice.
So, or I use that part of my, whole... But it's constant submission. It's defending, and submitting at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's actually bringing the both worlds together. Like I like to say, in the years to come, that you won't see a difference whether submission or offense and defense. It's all going to be molded together, especially as para jiu-jitsu grows, because there are going to be more of us in the academies learning different techniques that are unique for our situation.
Yeah.
And on top of it, all of us are going to have our superpower, which is going to then bleed into the the whole academy, and then
Sure.
everyone else is going to be using it. And then what happens? You go to tournaments, you're just going to be seeing everybody molded together.
People are going to be using techniques that were originally designed for para jiu-jitsu.
With your legs, let's say, and with, you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
you're going to be able to take what I have to a different level because I
That's
and
pretty
I know
cool, yeah.
and I know it because when I find something that works for me, I don't stop there. I say, okay, how can a fully able body use it?
Okay.
Because there's people in the whole Without Limitations mission that I'm doing. There's people that are blind. You know, they're fully able body.
Yeah.
So again, just because their limitations is the lack of sight doesn't mean that they can't do the regular
be very
stuff,
different.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you get to a full range of ideas, basically. And
Yeah.
as like we had that Para Jiu Jitsu summit a few weeks back, and we all basically got together and got to learn from each other, study each other's techniques, and it was really fun and really cool because like you can use that grip in your game. You can use this. Oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? It's just, and then on top of it, that knowledge that I get from everyone else and the knowledge they get from me, we get to use and share with someone else in our path that may be in a similar situation.
Sure.
Or if I meet someone that's an amputee, I say, "Whoa, Neil does this crazy foot locks. You take his back and he foot locks you."
Yeah.
And it's just because of the way he's a double amputee at his knee, the way he uses his legs, he can foot lock you because his legs aren't in the way.
Wow.
Or if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or if you get him in half guard, for example, you think you have him in half guard, but you're just really holding him up, and he's using that to an advantage.
Sure.
So it's like all those things are going to mold in one day into just, like you said, we're all aliens right now.
Yeah.
And eventually it's all going to become normal.
One thing.
You know what I mean?
That's very cool.
Because you have no choice.
Yeah. So kind of you mentioned the summit. Let's go and talk about some of the things that you moved on. You know, so you did your traveling around, talking to people. You had the website. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where did the magazine come in?
The magazine. Well, I'm a graphic designer. I've been doing graphic design since '93, I think. And I recently went back to school. Right before my accident, I went back to school. So it was oddly like, I went back to school to learn what's happening now, digital magazines, everything. So I know how to do I know how to put a magazine together. Easy. As far as the digital or the design part.
Sure.
I'm a horrible writer.
Yeah.
English was my second language. I never was good at English. And to be the editor of a magazine, I was scratching my head. The first magazine, it's just
looks nice, but
yeah, it looks
not
good.
great to read.
It was horrible. But I didn't want it to not go out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When the UAE started, brought it to the light. It was happening. It was growing slowly, but very small.
The magazine?
No, the
Para Jiu Jitsu in general
in the U.S. But when it was brought to the light through the tournament, I realized that we need more people to grow this. And in order to grow this, people have to be educated.
Yeah.
So the target audience of for the magazine isn't people in jiu-jitsu. They're already there. It's the people who aren't. And since I'm traveling and visiting rehab centers and stuff, I wanted to kind of give something physical. Well, it's not physical, but give something visually to them so they can understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And the main thing is like hearing people's stories through their own words. Plus, I don't have to edit it.
Yeah, okay. So actually, the magazine is sort of an amalgamation of other people's experiences.
Exactly. And it has techniques in there. It has, a technique with Master Helion, a technique with myself, the first one at least.
Yeah.
And then it's just stories after stories of, you hear everyone else's struggle and how they got to jiu-jitsu, and then you're like, oh man, cerebral palsy, and he's doing jiu-jitsu. Oh, he has a spinal cord injury. I have that. You know, my goal is for people to recognize the similarities in themselves and how someone else got there. You know what I mean? So that was the purpose of the magazine.
How many have you done?
Just the first one.
Awesome.
I'm on
man.
the second one now.
Oh wow. So how
May.
often are you putting them out?
Every 3 months.
That's
because
awesome.
we're such a small community. There's not.
But also, you know, like it's not a current affairs magazine in jiu-jitsu, right? So it's you know, you say that your demographic is people outside of the sport.
Right.
It's not like you need to be telling people what happened at the Pan Ams.
Exactly.
You know, the day after it happened.
I mean, there's a because it is for jiu-jitsu people as well,
Yeah.
and all of us para jiu-jitsu people that are doing it. It's for everybody, but
Yeah.
the main focus is those.
I think, you know, the majority of jiu-jitsu magazines are for people in jiu-jitsu only.
Right, exactly.
So
I mean, I keep the current affairs as far as the competition goes, because that's
Yeah.
pretty much what you can just be current on.
yeah.
So I'll cover all. That's why I'm here. Also, was covering the event for Para Jiu Jitsu magazine.
Oh, nice.
So the next one's in April, and the reason it's the April issue, but I'm not going to launch it till May because I have to get the Abu Dhabi in April. I have to get the Grappler's Heart that we're doing April 28th.
Nice.
So I have to make sure I get all those in there.
Yeah.
But as far as the stories go, yeah, those basically just people's life stories. And, you know, I'm the type that I'm not going to give a free advertisement. I'd just rather, if you look at the magazine, it says missed opportunity. It's just a blank page that says missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to just fill it with free advertisements to people because it's a valuable thing. Right now it's growing. Not many people really downloaded it, but
Yeah.
it's because it's new.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to a Abilities Expo in New York
Okay.
on May 6th, the anniversary of my fall.
Oh, wow.
6 years.
Wow.
So it'll be pretty cool to be able to be at an expo showing what I've accomplished, like through my own struggle.
Yeah, 6 years after the injury.
And the magazine there for anyone to download for free at that expo. So
Nice.
that's my goal. I didn't expect people to really download it that much right now until I start getting back out there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sorry.
No. Like, I think it's you know, I do think what you're selling in terms of the ideas and the fact that jiu-jitsu can be for anyone. I think it's important for people out there. I think it's important for people to have. I think there are a lot of sports where they have adapted. You know, like watching stuff like the Paralympics is just it's awesome. You know, it's really cool to watch, and it must be so inspiring for people with both with injuries and without injuries,
Sure.
Or disabilities, to be able to see that you can do whatever you want as long as you know there's a way to do it. But I think jiu-jitsu, it does come from such a philosophy of problem solving.
Yeah.
Like at the very core, that's what jiu-jitsu
true.
is. That when you say, you know, like you have everyone has problems, whether they're able-bodied or not, they have problems. In jiu-jitsu, it's about solving it, and you can find your own style.
Right.
I think.
And you know, with someone with a limitation, that's probably one of the biggest benefits that jiu-jitsu brings. Is it gives you the mentality that
you can do something,
get through whatever out in your own life.
Yeah.
Like where I leave my keys up or my phone up on the counter. Like, okay, how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the easiest route that I found so far, and then you keep perfecting it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm never going to put my phone up on the counter. It's always going to be here at the worst. At as far away from my bed, it will be always here. Or I start tucking it under my leg, or you know, you find ways to just get through your life instead of sitting there cursing at your phone being up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think for me, knowing that before my accident even started, it was I was in the rehab center, and it was so weird. 8 days after my accident, which is 5 days after my surgery, because they had to wait 3 days for the swelling to go down.
Sure.
5 days after my surgery, I'm laying on my back in the rehab center, and they wanted me to flail my arms one way, like really roughly, so my body I could flip over to my stomach. And I was like, you're out of your mind. I just fell.
Yeah.
Last week I was walking.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, you're out of your mind. But apparently, the faster you get into it, the scar tissue won't build.
Really?
So it was,
you got to get moving straight away.
Right away. But they said, oh, great, you're one of those guys. Because what I told them was like, no, there's a way, there's leverage in somewhere here. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And they were like, oh, great, you're one of those guys. And then I went back in my bed all night long. I'm thinking like, how am I gonna do this? Because there's a way.
Yeah.
Because it's jiu-jitsu mindset. And it was just as simple as putting one arm on this hip so I create like a teeter-totter.
Yeah.
And then pushing off this side. And then I basically teeter over my own arm, and then I land on my stomach. And they were like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And they really saw it in a different way also. But,
that's what they're going to be telling people to do from now on.
And then, but it was like, that was my mindset. It was like, no, there's a leverage. There's a way to do it with leverage. Yeah. And that, because I had the jiu-jitsu mindset. So the more you train after your accident or after your situation, or maybe you've been in your situation your whole life, but when you train jiu-jitsu, you start learning that kind of like, oh, it's just a triangle. I can get out of this. Oh, it's an arm bar. It's just a matter of time before I can get out.
Yeah, you know, I think that so many people talk about how jiu-jitsu helps them outside of jiu-jitsu, and I think that's one of the main things, which is if you've been doing jiu-jitsu for longer than a beginner, you know, if you're a blue or above, then you know that you're never going to get out of a bad position by panicking or by doing nothing.
Exactly.
Which is a response that people have to a lot of problems in life. Like something goes wrong and they panic, or they do nothing, they freeze. And jiu-jitsu teaches you can there's a way to get out of everything.
Yeah.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
Don't
there's
freeze.
Several ways.
Think about there's many ways, and you can be smart about it. And some ways are better than others. But if you get out of it, you get out of it. So.
And even if you start on one path to get out of something,
and find another,
and then you realize, oh man, I hit a brick wall here.
Yeah.
But from there, you're a little bit better than where you were. So then you can go a different avenue to get out of it fully. You know what I mean? So it definitely does give you a mindset. It helps with all kinds of them. People I talk to, I mean, people with limitations I have no clue about. Cerebral palsy is a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, autism, all these things. I don't know about these worlds. It's the more I work with them, the more I study them, the more I hear their stories. Helps me as well. You know, these aren't just helping someone with autism. I hear a person's story that has autism that's training jiu-jitsu. It opens my eyes. It helps me. I want to be a instructor one day. Like my goal is, I'm actually going to hopefully be an instructor here shortly when I get back home, where I got connection with the VA in Miami, and we're going to start a Master Helion already gave me the green light to have my own class.
Wow, awesome.
So those veterans that are going to come, hopefully come and take my own class, and
with limitations.
Yeah. So they all, I don't know who's going to come in that door. So the more people I work with, the more I learn about different situations.
Yeah.
But understanding the body, you know, you've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while. You understand the movement of the body. So when someone can't do something, it's not hard to understand it from that point, and to have to go a different route. It's all new to you, but you're going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, through trial and error, through just realization that, the body, they can do that. They can do it. You know what I mean? It's just, for example, Master Helion's been training his whole life.
Yeah.
When I came to him the first time to interview, he was my first interview. He was just like, "Oh, you can do this." You know what I mean? He thought about it. He's like, "Oh, you can do this." And we tried it, and sure enough, it's because he just knows the body.
Yeah.
And I told him I don't have abs, lower back, or legs. So he thought, and he said, "Okay, come
do
back."
This. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was it. So we're all going to get there eventually, if you were in it long enough. But you have to pay attention, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
You have to pay attention to what you don't know also, like what you don't see that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because when I was walking, I would unfortunately, we all have kind of a mindset that if you're in a wheelchair, first of all, if you're in a wheelchair, it's your legs, just your legs.
Sure.
And then two, if you're in a wheelchair, you're disabled.
Yeah.
You're crippled, you're whatever name that comes up. That's why I use without limitations, because all those names, I feel like they already start off as a negative way. You know what I mean? Already start off the thinking that you can't do something, because disabled sounds wrong.
Yeah,
I understand that it's a medical term, but it just sounds like you're a car that's disabled. It doesn't work. So I had that mindset. I remember thinking that, oh man, that there was a couple guys in the complex that were in wheelchairs before my accident, and I remember thinking, oh man, they're limited in so much that they can do, because I think about everything. And now that I'm in a wheelchair, I remember how like ridiculous my mindset was back then, because I was naive to what this world was all about. So we all have that up to a sense, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. As a regular person, not even trained in jiu-jitsu, you know. Do
you think that's an important, obviously you're on a mission to spread jiu-jitsu as a form of physical and psychological, emotional rehab for people who have had accidents or people who have been born with limitations. Mm-hmm. Would you say that part of that mission is also educating fully able-bodied people into understanding what it's like to kind of be able to have those people sympathize a little bit more, just have a better understanding?
Yeah, because it's a closed world. If you think about it, no one wants to talk about their bowel programs or how they have to do how they have to prep, how many pills they have to take. No one wants to talk about those hard parts or embarrassing parts, I should say. Yeah. But it's part of life, you know. Like, if you think about it, you can't get caught up in how you're going to feel about a situation, because the more you share about your life, the more others will benefit from it. Yeah. And that's the way I look at it. Like, I can't be embarrassed with, whatever I'm going through, whatever I have to deal with.
Yeah, because when we first came in, you were saying how odd it is that it's the first time that you've left the Americas.
Oh, yeah.
First time in Europe or anything like that. And how much harder it is to get around on your wheelchair.
Right. Definitely.
And that's something that, unless you were in a wheelchair, you would never
even think about it. You would never change it for someone, because you don't know how it feels.
Yeah.
Here, you got their transit systems. It's pretty good. But for example, Harlesden Station, right down the block, first night, Monday after the tournament. All right, I'm going to train, because the first week I had to relax. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go around town, because that's energy that's going to be taken away from my competition.
Okay, so you had to relax for a long time.
I had to relax fully. Because
how was flying?
Well, coming here was super easy.
Yeah,
because I had all 4 seats.
Okay.
So I stretched out and just slept the whole. I took a couple of Gracie Essential G nighttime.
Yeah,
it's like chamomile and stuff. And then I just knocked me out, and I was gone for 6 hours of the flight.
Nice.
So it was actually pretty easy here, which I'd never been on a big plane like that before. That was kind of strange. Never got breakfast and dinner on a plane.
Yeah.
So, but I had to wear a catheter. It was such a long flight. I can't go to the bathroom on flights.
Yeah.
In the States, my flights are 5 hours. So here's a good example. In the States, if I'm traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast, it's a 5-hour flight. I have to start fasting. I have to stop drinking liquids. Excuse me. I have to stop drinking liquids almost a day before.
Wow.
Because what you drink the day before, if you're not active, comes about midday. If I drink something at 10 o'clock at night, it'll come back out about midday.
Yeah.
The next day. So I have to stop drinking liquids. And also you have to fast, and you can't have anything in my system, because when the stool moves through your body, it can push on your bladder, and whatever liquids you do have will be forced out just by the stool being pressure.
You have no control of any of that function.
No. And everything's on a timer. Like I use the bathroom every 4.5 hours. It takes about 200 milliliters in 4 hours. So then I relieve myself. About 250 milliliters, it'll force its way out.
Wow.
So I have to be aware of those things. And on a flight from a 5-hour flight, if I'm dehydrated, I can do it without having to use it. As long as I tell the person right before we board, I need to use the bathroom right before we get on the plane.
Yeah.
And then that's how you have to work it. But a flight from here to there, I have to put a catheter in because it's 8 hours.
Yeah.
I can't get up and do the plane. It's really a struggle on the plane when they have the little seat to get you to the bathroom, but
It's hard.
if you're not strong, you're not using that bathroom.
Yeah.
You know, it's a struggle for me to get in there, but I'm stronger.
Yeah. For people who are in the same position as you, but don't have the background in the physicality or even the training in the physicality that you have now, it must make it even harder.
Yeah, and that's why I am doing this, because it wasn't hard for me to get back to strong, kind of like a upper body strength.
Yeah.
Because I had it before. But imagine someone who's overweight.
Yeah.
And they hit the ground. They can't even transfer yet. They have to first build up their strength in their arms. I was talking in rehab. They have to make their arms stronger just to be able to transfer 300 pounds over to a chair.
Yeah.
You know, imagine you can carry 300 pounds with your legs, no problem, but imagine having to do it with your chair. It was hard for me. So, and my arms are stronger, or my arms are already developed, like strength-wise. So those are the things you don't have to think about, and it's like I keep an eye open and an ear open for all that stuff because it's all knowledge for me to help someone else.
Yeah.
You know.
Because you know, you were saying earlier that your professor Helion Gracie told you to take time off of jiu-jitsu to focus on rehabilitation or focusing on your health. So what is it that what brought that about, and what kind of did that year take?
I came from I started in San Diego, and I think my first competition was 3 months into jiu-jitsu. And then through my whole white belt, I was just competing as much as possible. I really enjoyed the competition. And then I started training with Leticia Ribeiro. And Leticia is a very technical, competitive person. Yeah. So naturally, the whole vibe in the academy is we're all competitors. We're all there. So that mindset never left me to want to compete. And then I don't know if it was me trying to prove that I'm still effective in jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
So, what was it, 2 years after my accident? About 3 years maybe. I'm not sure on the time frame, but 2015, I competed at Worlds because I never competed at Worlds before.
And that was in just the normal category?
Yeah, the kids.
Yeah.
And the reason I competed at Worlds was because when I was walking, I always said, I'm not in because we took competition serious. There was like camps. We drilled stuff. We went over things over and over to condition the body. But when I got my blue belt, I got a sotagari and shoulder separation.
Oh, damn.
Shoulder separation knocked me out. So I was out for 9 months of my blue belt. And every time Worlds came around, I would think, I'm not in competition shape. I never thought of it, just go do it.
Yeah.
You know, just who cares, you know, if you win or lose. Just go do it. I was always, I'm not in competition shape.
Sure.
So when I fell, I missed those opportunities to do Worlds as a walk-in person. And basically I said, no, I'm going to do it. And I went. I did Worlds in 2015. I did Worlds in 2016. And then I was in class one day talking about going to a competition or something. I think it was Abu Dhabi trials or something. And Helion said, if you keep chasing the competition without focusing on your body first, you're going to quit jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
And you know, when you're hooked in jiu-jitsu that long already, that's a big thing for someone of that of his knowledge to be able to say.
You take everything someone like that says very seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I did. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to compete in 2017. And then Pete, the guy I spoke about earlier, he was like messaging me wanting to do a super fight. And I'm like, no, I'm focusing on my body. And then he said something like, oh, I think you're afraid to lose. And
that's gonna hurt.
And it hurt.
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, I'm going to Grappler's Heart.
Oh, really?
So it was the only competition I did in 2017, but it was a Para Jiu Jitsu competition. So I thank Pete for that because it got me into that Grappler's Heart.
That was the first time you did
a Para Jiu Jitsu.
Oh, okay.
Like
that must be a big difference in experience. Right?
Yeah, because the only experience I had in Para Jiu Jitsu was Brian. Because I visited Brian a few times and on that road trip that I was telling you about. So I went there, and I was so glad. I took it as an insult, being a higher belt, and plus I already said, no, I'm taking it off. So when someone calls you out, you kind of can't. It's jiu-jitsu world. You don't shy away from it. So I said, okay, I'm going to Grappler's Heart. He was going, so I went. We laugh about it now. But back then, it was a serious, like, for me, it was like, man, really? Okay, let's do it. And I went there, but I got to see and be introduced to that world. But then after that whole trip really, really hurt me, like my body physically. Wow. Like I came back and I was like in the house for 2 months.
Really?
Like I was, something changed in that trip in my body where it really made me focus, realize that I need to fix this.
So did you manage to identify what those things were?
It was food.
Okay.
Everything came down to my diet. Half of my spinal cord injury pain was what I was eating. It was my digestion. It was my.
Wow.
It was. I don't know. You know how the intestines has like a brain of its own.
Yeah.
It was. I started changing my food. Gracie Essentials sponsors me. They support me.
So what sort of stuff were you eating, and what was the effects it was having on you?
Well, it was a few things. The first 2 years being on the road and afraid to pee my pants. Like it's just because I have no idea. I'm still getting used to my bladder. So I was so afraid to pee my pants that I literally took a sip for the whole first year.
You end up just not trying. I
didn't drink water. Wow. I didn't drink anything. I took a sip, whatever I needed for my pills. So I was constantly dehydrated and training every day. And I was on a limited budget, so it was literally dollar menu everywhere I go, which you know what dollar menu is?
Yeah.
So it was literally it was all Wendy's, I don't want to give anyone credit, but it was all fast food. It
was bad food.
Yeah, it was horrible food. Like it was just filling me up. Like when I was living in that house before I went on the road, I had to, I was eating a pack of noodles a day, just one pack of noodles. And it was dry because I had the strength. But it was like one pack of noodles, and that was it. And I was still training. It was like pulling the, whatever you have, that grit that you have in you, like just to get to training.
Yeah.
But I'd sleep all day, and the energy that I would have, that I should have been spending in my chair, building up stamina, I saved whatever energy I had. I saved for the mat, and then I'd go home and I couldn't even take a shower. I was just exhausted.
So you stopped training, or you stopped competing? For that year, or you?
Well, I only did the worlds.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't.
For the year that Helion told you to lay.
Oh, the year I stopped training and competing.
Wow.
I would go in there and just hang out and kind of put the gi on, but didn't.
So you were going to use your energy to work on your moving the chair, getting about, being able to do stuff instead of
more of a chair stamina, but also figuring out like what I can eat and cannot eat. Because what happens when I eat something that doesn't agree with me, my body takes it as a threat and just locks me out until it leaves my body. So it takes about 14 hours to leave your body. So if I eat something that's dodgy, that's another word I got from here.
Yeah? You don't have that over there?
No. If I eat something that doesn't agree and I feel it, I'm like, oh man, I'm stuck here for 14. That's why I can't commit to anything. unless I prepare for it.
Wow.
For example, the seminar is at 10 o'clock on Sunday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I haven't eaten today. I have to fast because a good rule of thumb for me is if I have an engagement at 10, I can eat 5 hours past that, because then I won't have to use the bathroom during that time.
So you can start you have to stop eating at 3?
My normal routine is I eat at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I can't, but I wait. I primarily follow the Gracie living, how they live.
Okay.
So
food combination.
Yeah. Food combinations.
And that's helped you a lot?
4.5 hours. Oh, that was what launched me. Like,
wow.
I get the best instructor on that is Master Helion, like, every day. So I would bounce questions off of him, bounce questions off of his wife, Chris. And they really helped me organize and have a good understanding of how to live properly through food, and the proper supplements as well.
So do a lot of people at the academy, Helion's Academy, do a lot of people follow the Gracie diet?
Probably not.
No,
I'm not sure.
I just wondering whether just because he preaches about it a little bit, and just wondering whether that permeates into the students.
I wouldn't know too much, but I don't think a lot of people are open about it. I guess there are a few. I think more of the black belts are more conscious of what they eat because of the years, I guess.
Yeah.
But when I found out about I found out that it was food doing this, I basically fasted for 3 days.
Yeah.
I cleansed my body, fasted for 3 days, and then I ate rice. And rice didn't give me just rice. No salt, nothing, just rice.
Just work out whether that's good. Yeah.
And then I have blueberries. Blueberries are good. Watermelon. I love watermelon, but it's
not good.
It's on the bad list. Any cantaloupes, all these melons are on the bad list at the time. But now I'm finding that I can start introducing things because I'm starting to repair my body. Not only like can I function better, but my body's being repaired. That's why I went off on I was dehydrated and eating bad for so many years and taking painkillers, mind you. So for so many years, I was abused, like really just...
Were you like building intolerances to certain food? Is that what was happening, or...?
No, I think it was the painkillers that were
messing up your stomach.
They were messing it up, but they weren't letting me feel the effects. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it wasn't until one day I looked at a video where I interviewed Shanji, and I literally sound like, "Hey guys, I'm in San Diego," and I'm just like, "Hey, this guy, he's a zombie. He's like, I'm a zombie."
Yeah.
And I said, "I can't do this." And I went to my mom's, and I stayed there first I went down to DC and I saw a Chinese doctor, and I said, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to kick these painkillers flat out. I'm not trying to wing off of them."
Cold turkey.
Yep. And he gave me this. He gave
Magic herb.
He gave me a prescription. We went around the corner, my brother and I, and we're looking at them like what they're doing, because they lay it all out like on little sheets of paper, and then they fold it up, and it's like dosage. They lay out each dose, so it's a 7-day cleanse. So there's 7 pieces of paper, and we're looking at what they're putting on. Big cockroaches like this.
No.
Scorpions.
Serious?
Bunch of different like leaves and barks, and it's just like
just a whole scorpion.
Yeah.
What'd you do with it? You make it into tea, or?
Yeah. So basically, I would take that one thing.
Scorpion tea. That's pretty badass, isn't it?
And then I had to buy a special herb brewing thing that they sold.
Yeah.
So basically, I put 3 cups of water, all of that in there, and reduce it down to 1 cup. And then I would drink half a cup in the morning, half a cup at night.
And how did it do?
That was horrible, man.
Yeah.
It tastes like garbage.
But you feel better though?
Oh, man. I didn't feel the withdrawals.
No way.
And then what I found out after, so basically that got me through the gnarly withdrawal that you would normally go through.
Is that usually a big thing?
Well,
coming off that many painkillers.
It's like, it's opium. So it's coming off of heroin, basically.
Sure.
So you would think whatever the withdrawal that someone would have off of heroin, I didn't get to feel it because of that Chinese medicine.
That's pretty cool.
Which was awesome. And that's when I realized that half my pain...
It's from the diet stuff.
Half of my pain prior to that...
Was from the painkillers?
Was withdrawals.
Oh, okay.
Because it was about an hour before my scheduled time for my pills. My arm would shake. I'm like, fuck. But I associated to spinal cord injury. I was just part of my spinal cord injury. It's nerves. I would shake.
So when you were due to take another painkiller, when that painkiller started to wear off,
exactly,
you would start to feel like shit.
My body would do weird shit. Like screaming it like a addict.
Wow.
I was basically an addict and didn't know it.
Well, prescription painkiller addiction is like massive in America, especially.
It's huge.
It's not. It obviously it's big everywhere, but you guys just have such a messed up medical system.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my what's it called? I forgot what the name of the doctor is, but it's pain management doctor. This was when, and I'm glad they passed this law too. This was before they passed a law where you had to go and see a doctor every month to get your painkillers. As far as
how often do they have to do it before?
He was writing me 6-month prescriptions.
Damn.
I'm on the road. He didn't even see me. I'm on the road and I call in. I'm like, hey, I'm almost due, and he just write another one, send it into CVS.
Wow.
And that was just disgusting. Like if you think about it, like man, it's just a money thing.
Well, that's the problem. Like it's just such a big business out there that
it's sad. It's very sad how it is. But like I said, I got to go through that, so now I could share it. You know, I could have. I know for a fact that I could have winged off of those. I didn't need them. After the first year, I didn't need painkillers because after getting off of them, I realized that half the pain went away.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was about a month at my mom's house. And then that's when I did my first tournament.
Just after you came off them?
Because I was like, I'm at the weakest point of my entire life right now. Because I just came off painkillers. I hadn't been training at all and so on. So I said, I'm going to go do a tournament in Baltimore to see where my jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anywhere.
Like, okay, yeah, cool.
He just mounted me, got in there. I kind of like defended a little. I was so out of it.
Yeah.
It was a best out of 3, and then I'm off taking pictures, and they're like, Max, you're up next. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot there was 2 matches. But I have it all on video, and then from there I went across the whole country.
Yeah.
I drove to California, San Diego, and that's when the story about Brian and I.
Yeah.
So I went
you had
from
the super fight,
and then I did the super fight with Brian, but I was a little more in more shape at that point. About 2 months after my withdrawal, like getting off painkillers.
So that was the getting off painkillers was the beginning of that year that you took off, or it was during the year that you took off?
No, that was way
before,
like way before. But the year when I took off was 2017. Was last year.
Okay.
It was hard seeing everyone competing, everyone doing something, and you can't participate after that one tournament I did.
The sneaky one that you got in.
Yeah.
Did you hide it from Hillian or?
No, it was because it was.
Like, Hillian, I'm just going down to I'm just going for the weekend. No need to look at my Facebook or anything.
Right. No, but that one was okay because it was a Para Jiu Jitsu tournament. Sure. But when I got back, I really felt my body was crumbling. I was in the house for 2 days in my bed all the time.
Wow.
And then I started focusing on the food. When I did that, my body I started having more energy. I started having, but I was eating 3 times a day or every 4.5 hours. And then I realized, okay, I have to like cut one of these meals out because what happens is when I have to use the bathroom, my body kind of stiffens me up a little. And then, having one meal, like the 10 o'clock meal and the 4 o'clock meal, end up going together when they leave my body.
Sure.
But if I have a meal at night, it's a whole separate situation. It's a whole separate movement.
Yeah.
Basically. So then I started feeling like I I wasn't getting rid of the spasms. Then I started fasting at night, and then I realized, oh, now I have more energy.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I found it's like all trial and error, because I'm the type that I'd rather go through it than to have someone tell me. Yeah. Because
do you feel like now you've kind of really worked it out? You've got the system down.
Yeah, definitely.
You've nailed it. I guess that's another part of you wanting to promote what you're doing to people who have just been injured, where you can say, oh, look, this is what I did. Play around with this, discover it for yourself, and hopefully you can.
Especially the nerve pain. If you have a spinal cord injury and you're listening, nerve pain, and like my legs will be on fire. Like even though they label me as complete, I still feel.
Really?
I still feel. I don't feel your touch or anything, but I still feel
the nerves.
Like my legs will just be burning, and my butt will feel like I've been in wet swimsuit all day long. You know what I mean?
Just uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's just extremely uncomfortable, and on top of it, the spasms. But
does your legs? Does the muscles in your legs and your
everything will spasm and lock out. That's what I'll be stuck in the bed. That's what I mean by being stuck in bed. It was like it won't let me out because until whatever I ate leaves my body.
Wow,
it won't. It takes it as a threat. So here's a good example. Early on in my injury, my legs were jumping. And I'm like, man, I used the bathroom. My bladder is empty. I used bathroom both ways. I don't know what's going on. It's usually what triggers.
Yeah.
I took my pills. I took extra pills. I'm like, what is going on here? And then I'm like, oh man. And then it dawns on me, oh, I must have, when I put my shoe on, my toe must have bent backwards. It's the only thing I could think of. I take my shoe off and there's a little Lego in there. So my leg was jumping this whole time, and it was because there was a Lego in my shoe.
No way.
So your body still finds a way to tell you things are wrong, and that's what I'm getting at with spasms.
Okay.
So then when I corrected my diet last year, I started feeling stronger. I train. I've been working with Alvaro Romano with Ginástica Natural for probably 4 years now.
Okay.
Adapting it and changing it to my situation.
Wow.
So with the Ginástica Natural and the proper diet, I started feeling stronger. I lost 20 pounds.
No way.
Yeah. I lost 20 pounds last year.
And you were actually eating more.
Yeah. I was eating more and I lost 20 pounds. What was strange is that I lost my train of thought.
About you losing 20 pounds.
So, I went from 160 to 140.
Wow.
But I have a 200-pound body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not fair in the brackets. But they get to use their legs, so I guess it evens out. Because a 140-pound guy is pretty light when you're used to training with only 200 pounders.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
But getting back to the fixing my body, I did a lot of damage to it over the years just by naively, not even knowing it. Yeah.
And
the painkillers, dehydrating the first year, afraid to pee my pants because I'm in the car. I have no place to wash my clothes. So all that took its toll. I remember when I saw that Chinese doc. It's so weird when you see them because they don't even have machines, nothing. They take your pulse, they look at your throat, they check your glands.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, your liver's horrible. Your kidneys are really bad.
That's from being dehydrated.
And I'm like, how do you know this?
Yeah.
Just from looking at me like that. It was really cool how they can assess that. And that was it. And that part of that concoction that he was giving me was to repair my kidneys. Mm-hmm. My kidneys were in bad shape. Mm. And then that was causing spasms as well. So but fast forwarding into last year, when I focused on the health of my body, like instead of trying to, once you kind of like said, okay, I'm taking off, and you kind of accept it, you have more ability to focus, So I focused on my body instead of trying to chase. Like what he said was, you don't have to prove anything to us. We're all already see you as an amazing like accomplishment. And it wasn't until he said that I realized I was trying to prove myself. Like that I
subconsciously you were trying to do that.
It was more of like I'm trying to prove that jiu-jitsu in this situation can be effective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I still had the mindset of a walk-in person on how they look at people in wheelchairs, how they're just, you know, they're disabled.
Sure.
You know, so I didn't want people thinking of that about me, because I know that the leverage exists. And for me, it was like I was subconsciously trying to prove that my jiu-jitsu is still effective, instead of just being someone that is just a pity, like, your techniques are good, but not really.
Yeah.
You know, that's,
you want it to be legit.
You know, people are taking it light on me. I want it to be legit.
Yeah.
Especially coming from a competitive background.
Of course.
But this year, I'm strong. I'm night and day. Like, I feel
it was worth taking that year off to fix
Absolutely.
yourself. Yeah.
It's worth changing your diet.
It's such a, you know, that there's so many important lessons in that. It's, you know, you are what you eat, really.
Yeah.
If you want to be healthy, you've got to eat good food.
Absolutely.
You've got to take care of yourself physically sometimes, and address issues if there are issues there, and work out. And, you know, I don't like taking painkillers, and it just shows if you can take, sometimes they're useful, but when you use them too much, they're not good for your body. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there that's really not good for you. And yeah, I think mainly is just invest in time and energy and effort into your body and your health. And actually, you know, people overtrain so much, or people don't take breaks and all of that stuff. And sometimes actually, if you take a little break and you recover from anything, whatever it is, you can come back stronger afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then get past the plateau.
But you come back even in my jiu-jitsu, even though I haven't trained, my jiu-jitsu is night and day, because I took so long off.
When did you start training again? Just in January, or?
About 3 months, 4 months ago.
Yeah. End of last year? Beginning?
No, about 3 months before the end of the year.
Okay.
So but my technical game just skyrocketed.
Really?
Because even though I wasn't physically training, your mind never leaves the mats, and I'm like thinking of moves and techniques, and
now your body could help. Your body could better, you know,
it could hang with it.
Exactly.
So it caught up to my mind, basically.
That's cool.
And just concepts and different ideas that you want to introduce, and then when you finally get to the mats, I mean, I would come back to the mats when I feel I have a good day, or I feel in a good day, because mind you, I'm eating bad food on purpose, not knowing it, but then, this is a bad one. I planned on training tonight, but I can't now because I ate something that doesn't work. Yeah. But now I have a whole list. I know exactly what I can and can't eat. Or if I want to eat something that I crave, I know that I'm not doing nothing tomorrow. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you kind of like, but you're also like, is it worth it? Yeah. Do I want to eat that?
How bad do I want to eat
Because I'm going to feel pain tomorrow.
Sure.
So is it worth the pain?
Yeah.
And then it's like, nah, it's not.
So and sometimes, if it's really good, maybe it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I study food my entire life, so I'm like a self-taught chef.
Okay.
So that's another thing that's hard on me.
Yeah.
I tell my friends, let me cook for you.
Yeah.
You buy the food, and I'll make a whole week just because I want to practice my art.
Yeah.
You know, I want to practice, and I love cooking, but I can't eat any of it.
Wow.
So
that must be frustrating.
It was. But I learned how to cook on a whole different healthy level. You know, if you're in a similar situation, you try to eat 2 meals a day. 1 meal solid, 1 meal blended. The blended meal helps push things.
Okay.
Papaya and pineapple and mint clean your system out. The mint gets rid of gas. And papaya and pineapple really everything just like, it really cleanses you. Even if you're an able body, it'll help out. But that's what I found my system to be. I wake up in the morning, I eat, I drink 1 meal, and then at around 4 o'clock, I eat a solid meal, because the solid meal I don't need it to pass through fast. I need that energy for training. Sure. So you come up with like exact system. Wow. But trying to stay on the system is hard at times. Yeah. You know, because I guess
the longer you're on it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, it becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah. So, and you forget what it was like before.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I haven't eaten things like meat, and
I really
I haven't. When I rented a room, Penny and I shared a house together. So that's when I also became vegetarian back then.
Okay.
It wasn't until my accident where I had to kind of go away from the vegetarian life because I had to survive what I can afford.
Yeah.
But I remember how I felt night and day from just becoming vegetarian.
You felt a lot better?
Yeah. I mean, I ate eggs and fish though. So whatever. I'm sure there's a label. There's a label for that.
There's a label for everything these days.
So I was a pescatarian, and but I felt them. I mean, it changed my life.
Really.
So knowing that now, I've always been trying to get back to
the vegetarian.
And then last year I was able to get back to it, especially cutting out one meal. You can afford more.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We have a lot of farmers markets in southern Miami. There's like where all the farms are. So I go to those stands and I buy the fruit and vegetables cheap.
Nice.
But primarily fruit and vegetables and eggs, roughly.
Nutritional, dense stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But it's an eye-opener because, like I mentioned before, your intestines have a mind of their own, and all the nerve pain comes from that intestine line because it's choked with nerves.
Yeah, the stomach.
So when you eat that stuff and it's struggling to digest, it just shoots out, and like I can feel my legs will start burning. I'm like, oh, I ate something bad.
You must develop such like a
sensitivity
to
huge sensitivity.
Wow.
Like I'm very in tune with what
body.
happens in my body.
Yeah.
Like I know something's wrong. I know it right away.
Wow.
Because like jiu-jitsu, you're used to patterns.
Yeah.
And then, oh man, like when Brian put me to sleep in that super fight. I'm like, what's he doing? He doesn't have nothing here. And then I'm getting woken up.
And bought some sushi.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Cool. Let's talk about the Para Jiu Jitsu Federation and stuff like that. Like,
so last year I also, because I'm not training a lot, I got to focus more on what my plans are. What I was planning on doing. So I started a federation called International Jiu Jitsu Without Limitations Federation. And it's not your normal federation where you think of just competition. Because my mindset back then was it can't be just about competing, you know?
Yeah.
We're in a unique situation where there's people that need help. So part of the federation is called Without Limitations. Is there's programs that I've been developing. One's Jiu-Jitsu Without Limitations. One's Cooking Without Limitations.
Oh, wow.
Exploring Without Limitations, and Remodeling Without Limitations. So I basically took everything that I do in my life and put it to use. So I was a general contractor before my accident. So I can change a light bulb or build a house. Like I have the knowledge for all that. And my vision on that is, if you're coming home and you need a ramp on your house, I can do the blueprints, everything up to save money on top of that. And we'll buy my goal is to raise money so we can build that ramp for that person.
Wow.
But they don't get it for free, because when I was in the hospital, foundation came in and gave me $1,000 to build a ramp. But I was so new to, you're talking about 7 days in.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
They just came in and they're just like, here's $1,000, build a ramp in your house.
Yep. When you get home so you can have a ramp. But I didn't know then that my credit's going to be shot to hell anyways, from the medical bills. So I've used that money to pay bills, thinking I have to stay on top of my bills, which I should have just built the ramp, because that would have been useful in the long run.
Yeah.
Because it kept me in the house without a ramp.
Yeah.
So that, learning from that, I realized, okay, when you give something to someone free, they don't take it
seriously.
Yeah. So
there's I think sometimes when you...
There's no value in it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So my idea is, okay, we build a ramp on the house. Let's say it's $3,000. You have to pay that. But if you train jiu-jitsu for 1 year, twice a week, at the end of that year, that bill's clean.
No way.
And my rationalization of it is, if they train 1 year and they don't like jiu-jitsu, it's not for them.
Yeah.
You know? So it gives them the opportunity to be forced to have to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Which is going to benefit them anyways.
100%.
And if they don't like it, after a year, if they trained every day, and we'll check on them and stuff, then the ramp's paid for, or the kitchen remodel's paid for. Let's say you're like me, a cook.
Yeah.
You love to cook. Now you can't, or your kitchen's at a different level now. Then we'll remodel your kitchen, but you have to train jiu-jitsu. So that's the remodeling part. The cooking without limitations is where I kind of go around in different restaurants and meet different people, and let's say you're a cook and, hey, let's go share the kitchen, show us what you make. So it's kind of showing that I can still do something, given by example.
Yeah.
But part of that is called editable, edible and then editable. But I put them together, editable, lifestyle.
Yeah.
And purpose, my main goal, and that's in the long run, I have to take steps in this, or strides, I should say.
Yeah.
But in the long run, my goal is to raise enough money where I can start a program where I can bring food, healthy food, to people that brand new in the hospital. Because if they start eating right away healthy, they're going to have more energy faster, and get better faster in the time that they need it the most. Because
that acute phase.
Exactly, because after that first year, you kind of start losing whatever you could get back, is from my understanding, if you can get something back.
Sure. And even if you can't, like in your situation when you were complete,
exactly.
Having good nutrition and having that,
changed
my
resource
life there.
But it took 5 years.
Yeah, well,
5 years to get to there. Where if I did that in the beginning, I probably would be a different person now, So that's the goal for the cooking side of Without Limitations, is to ultimately bring nutrition to
the people who need it.
The most. Even if you're not fresh in the hospital, even if you've been in your whole life, it's like everyone can benefit from eating better.
And sometimes it just needs, like in your case, how long after you started eating well did you start to notice the benefits?
2 months.
So imagine if you could feed someone good food for 2 months and go, look, you see how you feel now? Now you go.
Yeah. Exactly. And the goal is to ship it across the states. If you, no matter where you live, we have programs that do that already.
Yeah.
But they charge an arm. Something that is in my mind is, if it doesn't exist, I take it I get angry, not angry where I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I take it as nah.
This should exist. Yeah.
This should exist, and I'm going to do it and disrupt the industry, because they're not doing it. That's how I think.
Yeah.
Sponsors, they just use you. They give you a gi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they use you, basically.
Yeah.
But then you start calculating the gi only costs $35, so you just did all this stuff for $35 a month.
Yeah.
That's all you're getting. Because after your initial group, no one's buying a gi anymore after 3 months.
Yeah.
Because you only know so many people. So if you think about it, you start racking up gis, and you're doing all this, you're basically selling out for $35.
Yeah.
So those type of things really bother. I have a whole clothing line, everything designed.
Nice.
Just waiting to launch it. It's all in strides.
Awesome.
So that's the remodeling, the cooking. I have a program I'm working with. It's really cool because there's a movie called, I forgot the name of it. I'm drawing a blank. But it was a guy who in D.C., he got out of jail, and he was a chess master. He's a chess player in the pin. And then he got the youth off the streets by starting his whole chess program and stuff.
Yeah.
So they made a whole movie on him. Cuban Gooding Jr. played him.
Okay.
And I just shot in the dark, sent a message, and he called me back. And I'm working with him
Who did?
The guy that they based
The
that
chess
movie.
player?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And Eugene Brown.
Uh-huh.
And he calls me back, and I'm working with him to get to start chess without limitations.
Wow.
So because I realized that, man, it goes back to that guy who couldn't scratch his nose. I'm like, I can't forget about those guys. So what's jiu-jitsu really? It's a chess game. So my idea is
awesome.
Bring chess to those people so they can still compete, they can still do stuff with their minds.
Yeah.
People can move the pieces for them, or it's a digital world now. You know what I mean? So there's chess without limitations, remodeling without limitations, cooking without limitations, and exploring. Exploring is exactly what I'm doing. Like I was a rock climber, and I went on to the New Year's of 2012. So 5 months before my accident, I was on a solo hike in the desert. Like I was going from one peak to another peak.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I explored. I enjoyed life.
Yeah.
So what if that was you? What if that was you didn't even train jiu-jitsu? That was your jiu-jitsu. And then you hit the ground and you can't do it anymore. It would break your heart.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, exploring without limitations brings the money that we raise for the whole federation, the whole without limitations in general, brings those like opportunities to people. Because instead of giving money to somebody, it's better to give them an experience that's going to last forever.
Yeah.
So whether your family wants to just go to Disney, let's say, then okay, we take your whole family to Disney.
Wow.
And then you get that out and you get to enjoy life. You get to get away from your struggle for a while. And that echoes longer. It gives you more positivity. It gives you more energy. So that's exploring. So on top of it, if let's say you're someone who camped all the time, okay, here's the van. We purchased this van, this and that. You would just have to get insured, whatever the process is, and then take the van for a month. You know, take it here. If you don't want to drive back, drop it off and fly back. We'll get it back. But the whole goal is to get people out there doing what they used to love to do or doing stuff they haven't done before. Because let's say, for example, they train jiu-jitsu for a whole year. They don't like it. We're not going to just leave them there. What do you want to
chess? Yeah.
Yeah. Or do you want to play basketball? Yeah. Here's a cycle. Go cycling. Here's a wheelchair, a hand cycle.
Yeah.
Whatever they want to do, we're still going to keep them going. But you have to try jiu-jitsu for the first year at least.
Nice.
And then the last thing is jiu-jitsu without limitations, and that's what I'm doing also is traveling, having black belts show us techniques that work for someone in my situation, and it doesn't have to be my situation. They can show a regular technique for someone who just can't hear. You know what I mean? So it's not just about spinal cord injury. It's about every limitation out there. PTSD, post-traumatic stress. Yeah. There's the first article. My friend Jamie's on the cover. That's something that he deals with. Yeah. So it's showing you that, hey, jiu-jitsu helps you get through a lot of different things. Yeah,
there's a lot of organizations out there, especially for the PTSD and stuff like that, for jiu-jitsu. I do some work and I've spoken to some guys from those different federations.
And it's growing too.
Yeah, which it should be. I think it is such a wonderful tool. And
absolutely.
So where do you guys get the money to do all the stuff from the Without Limitation Federation?
I live extremely well under my means. Yeah. And I use my disability check.
Really?
I don't have any funding coming
You fund everything yourself?
Yeah. So I kind of just...
That can't be the goal for the future though, right?
No, obviously I have to build it, you know.
How long have you been doing this for? Because it sounds awesome,
About 2... Well, I've been doing it since...
But like the international Without Limitations stuff?
Well, the actual started last year, but I've been doing it for about 3 years now, probably. So it's rough, I can't go to the movies. I can't go, hey, you want to go out to dinner? Nope, I can't afford it. I just can't. But
you can't afford it because you want to send other people to go and do the stuff that they want to do.
Right. Well,
that's pretty altruistic of you, right?
I kind of want to build the base of it.
Yeah.
so I can get to that point. I mean, it's hard. Like, it's more of right now making an awareness.
Yeah.
So but I lived in my car for two years. So anything better than that is better than that.
Sure.
That's in my mindset. When I get back home, I'm moving into my, I bought a van. I bought a van last year, which needs to get fixed. I used the money to come here. But I need to fix the van. Once the van's sorted, then I can, I'm actually moving into my van in April. So then I don't have to pay rent. That's $500 that can go towards this whole thing.
Yeah.
So it sounds crazy, I know.
But it sounds very altruistic. You know, it's humbling to hear someone who's willing to, you know, you're getting paid money from the government because you have the limitations that you have through the accident that you went to, and instead of you spending it on yourself in any capacity, you're choosing it to spend it on other people. That's like,
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Remember when I said I develop a grudge against dishonest practices, or so if someone's not doing it, then I'll suffer to make it happen. You know what I mean?
But you're not doing. But no one's obliged to do the stuff that you're doing. You're going out of your way to do it, regardless of that.
Because you have to set an example.
Wow.
Like no one's doing it because no one's doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess in in the long run, I think people will look at what I'm doing or what I've done.
And it will inspire other people,
and they'll try
stuff.
to do it, or they'll because it's a selfish world. Like, unfortunately,
it is.
But I just feel like we can all struggle a little bit to give to something, you know what I mean? To help someone else. Because the struggles that someone else are going through are extremely higher than what we're going through, even in my situation.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So if I can just make one person happy, or bring one person to the mat, or get one person to tell me, like, when I circled around those years and I would come back through another academy and someone would say, man, I saw you last year and I was really quitting jiu-jitsu. I just happened to be there that day, and I've been training ever since that day because of you. And these are able bodies. And to me, it's like, I'd never dawned on me that I would be inspiring an able body.
Yeah.
Like, my mind was for people with limitations. And then when that person told me that first year of my traveling, it gave me an eye-opener on what I'm actually doing, you know what I mean? Because I just kind of go with it, you know, and deal with life.
You don't think about it.
Yeah.
Man, I think that's quite a nice thing to leave it on. We've done just over 2 hours now.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it goes really fast. Everyone's so shocked whenever I say how long we've been doing it for. It goes quick. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that you haven't spoken about?
So the Federation and then the Para Jiu Jitsu magazine.
Yeah.
You can get...
Yeah, so kind of all the links to everything.
So everything's basically linked into the Para Jiu Jitsu magazine. So it's the avenue to get out to people.
Okay.
And it's PJJ Mag, not B, like Para Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah.
PJJmag.com.
Cool.
And you can get the free PDF magazine. And that explains itself.
Yeah.
Another thing that we have been working on, a lot of our upper belts in the States, is the USA Para Jiu Jitsu. That's just what it's called.
Yeah.
And it's US PJJ.com. And the purpose is to show and bring the benefits to everyone in the United States, whether you're a lifestyle person or if you're a competitor.
Sure.
Because the other organization kind of gives a vibe that that you have to compete in order to be part of it, which competition is just a small
It's a tiny
percentage.
part. It's a tiny part.
It's a lifestyle, you know.
Yeah, especially for the sort of demographic that you're. It's not. I think the competition can be intimidating sometimes. And
exactly.
Actually, you've got to say, you know what? You can come here. You never want to compete, great. And if you do want to compete, great. Yeah. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
And there's people I know with limitations that don't compete.
And there's people...
And they're part of it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So the whole purpose of USA Para Jiu Jitsu is to unite everyone,
whether they
all
compete or not.
para or adaptive athletes in Jiu Jitsu together.
Yeah.
So we're not focused on one person, basically.
Sure.
So and then we all learn from each other. Like Brian, we did that summit a few weeks ago. Brian hosted a summit at his house.
Yeah.
And it was 7 of us with limitations, all brainstorming and just getting to know each other and learn more, because we're usually in a competitive environment when we see
it's
each
nice
other.
To chill out sometimes.
So it's cool to be like kind of relaxed.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what. But basically, if you want to know anything, the Para Jiu Jitsu magazine explains all of the.
And that's got the info for the Jiu Jitsu Without Limits.
Yeah, for everybody, for everything. So
yeah. Well, you know, really, really great chatting to you. I'm very glad that I had the opportunity to sit down, and it was just out of chance that one of our mutual friends decided to hook us up. But man, I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing on behalf of, you know, able-bodied people and people with limitations. Like such an inspiring story just for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of people, regardless of whether they have limitations or not, can take a lot from your attitude to life, to your attitude to obstacles and all of that stuff. And then also kind of what you're doing moving forward and trying to, like you said, you know, being a little bit less selfish to help other people. And if everyone does that, the world would be a nicer place. So.
Ideally, but it's going to be hard to crack that nut.
You've got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. You have to set an example.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm trying to do, I guess.
That's awesome, man.
But I really appreciate
thank you very much.
Being able to speak on that.
No, it's been my pleasure.
The message out there.
I'm looking forward to people hearing it. Awesome. Thank you very much. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Okay, guys, that is it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to find out more about the Para Jiu Jitsu magazine, or if you want to download the copy, then go to pjjmag.com. And also for more information about the International Jiu Jitsu Without Limitations Federation, then you can visit their site, which is ijjwlf.com. And there's also a button on there to donate if you want to donate some money and help Max out with all of the stuff that he was talking about during this episode. Then go on over there and do that. For the podcast, as usual, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter, raspberry_ape. You can email me at podcast@raspberryape.com. The video to this should be on youtube.com/raspberryape. And you can go on the website, which is raspberryape.com. So basically type in Raspberry Ape and you will find me. That is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you next time.